Welcome to English and Wealth.
Let's grow your language and your mindset.
Most people fail at their financial and language goals because they focus entirely on what they want to achieve rather than who they need to become. Today, in part 2 of our 10-part Atomic Habits series on mindful language, we reveal why changing your identity, not your goals, is the ultimate secret to long-term wealth and effortless English fluency. Welcome back to the English and Wealth podcast on mindful language. I'm Liam, joined as always by Chloe. Today we are continuing our 10-episode exploration of James Clear's Atomic Habits. Last week we established the math behind the 1% rule. Today we're going much deeper into the psychology of why habits stick or fail.
Exactly. I have been looking forward to this specific chapter all week, Liam. In Chapter 2, James Clear introduces a concept that completely changed how I look at self-improvement: the 3 layers of behaviour change. He visualises these layers like an onion with 3 concentric rings.
That onion analogy is brilliant. Let's break down those 3 layers from the outside in. The outermost layer is outcomes. This layer is all about what you get. It includes your goals like saving $10,000, losing 10 kilograms, or passing an English proficiency exam.
Right. And the middle layer is processes. This layer is about what you do. It includes your habits, your routines, and your systems, like going to the gym 3 times a week, reviewing vocabulary cards every morning, or setting up an automatic transfer to your savings account on payday.
But the deepest, most crucial layer at the very centre of the onion is identity. This layer is about what you believe. It encompasses your worldview, your self-image, and your core assumptions about who you are as a person.
And this is where James Clear makes his boldest claim. He argues that most people try to build habits from the outside in, starting with outcomes, when they should be building them from the inside out, starting with identity. But Liam, isn't it natural to start with a clear outcome? If I want to save money, shouldn't my focus be on the target amount in my bank account?
It feels natural, but outcome-based habits create a fundamental psychological conflict. If you say, I want to save $5,000, but deep down you still view yourself as someone who loves buying luxury goods to feel successful, you are constantly fighting your own identity. Every time you refrain from buying something, it feels like sacrifice and punishment.
Ah, I see. You are using willpower to fight your inner belief system. And willpower is a finite resource. It runs out when you're tired, stressed, or overwhelmed.
Precisely. The goal is not to read a book. The goal is to become a reader. The goal is not to run a marathon. The goal is to become a runner. The goal is not to learn English grammar rules. The goal is to become an English speaker. When your behaviour matches your identity, you no longer need willpower. You are simply acting in alignment with who you believe you are.
Let's pause here and highlight a critical vocabulary word for our mindful language community that relates directly to this inner shift. The word is congruent.
A fantastic word. Congruent, spelled C-O-N-G-R-U-E-N-T, is an adjective meaning in agreement, harmony, or alignment with something else.
So we can say that when your daily actions are congruent with your identity, habit formation becomes almost automatic. But when your actions are incongruent with your self-image, you experience friction and self-sabotage.
Exactly. Let's illustrate this with James Clear's famous story of 2 people trying to quit smoking. When offered a cigarette, the first person says, "No thanks, I'm trying to quit."
That sounds polite and reasonable on the surface, What's wrong with that response?
Notice the language. No thanks, I'm trying to quit. This person still identifies as a smoker who is currently struggling against their nature. They believe their default state is smoking, but they are trying to resist it. Now, look at the second person. When offered a cigarette, they reply, "No thanks, I'm not a smoker."
Wow, what a subtle but profound distinction. I'm not a smoker signals a complete identity shift. Smoking is no longer an option because it is completely incongruent with who they are.
Exactly. Now, let's translate this to wealth and language learning. Consider two professionals learning English for business. Person A says, "I'm trying to study English because my company requires it." Person B says, "I am a global communicator who uses English every day to build international connections."
Person A will constantly look for excuses to skip studying because it feels like an external burden. Person B will naturally seek out English podcasts, articles and conversations because speaking English is part of their self-concept.
That's right. Exactly. The same principle applies directly to personal finance. Person A says, "I'm on a strict budget because I need to save money." Person B says, "I am an investor who prioritises long-term financial freedom over short-term impulse buys." Person B's daily actions are naturally congruent with wealth creation.
Liam, I want to play devil's advocate here for a moment. This idea of identity shifting sounds wonderful, but doesn't it run the risk of becoming a psychological trick? What if someone says, "I am a wealthy investor," but they currently have $50 in their checking account and zero investments? Isn't there a danger of getting caught up in wishful thinking or putting the cart before the horse?
Those are two outstanding idioms, Chloe. Let's explain them for our listeners first. Wishful thinking means believing something is true simply because you wish it was so, rather than relying on evidence. And putting the cart before the horse means doing things in the wrong order, putting the result before the foundational cause.
Exactly. If I simply repeat affirmations in the mirror saying, "I am fluent in English," without ever practicing, I am putting the cart before the horse. How does James Clear resolve this contradiction?
Clear addresses this directly by explaining that identity is not formed by empty affirmations. You cannot simply wish a new identity into existence. Your identity is created through votes. Every action you take is a vote for the type of person you wish to become.
A vote? Tell us more about that metaphor.
Think of your self-image like a democratic election. No single vote determines the winner, but as the votes pile up, the evidence becomes overwhelming. If you write one sentence in English today, that is one vote for becoming a writer. If you save $5 today instead of buying an expensive coffee, that is one vote for becoming financially independent.
So you don't need a unanimous vote to change your identity. You just need a simple majority. Every small action is tangible proof to your brain that you are becoming that person.
Precisely. You don't need to be a perfect investor to call yourself an investor. You just need to cast more votes for financial discipline than for financial carelessness. Over time, the accumulated evidence shifts your core identity naturally, without force or deception. Let's look at two practical case studies to show how this identity shift works in the real world. One for financial mastery and one for language acquisition.
Let's start with personal finance. Take the story of Anne Scheiber. She was an auditor for the IRS who retired in 1944 with a modest salary of around $3,150 a year. She never earned a high income, but she fundamentally identified as an investor and an owner of American enterprise.
Oh, absolutely. Instead of viewing herself as a low-salaried employee who couldn't afford to invest, she adopted the identity of a long-term capital allocator. Every single month, regardless of market conditions, she cast votes for this identity by purchasing shares of high-quality dividend companies.
When she passed away in 1995 at the age of 101, her modest savings had compounded into a portfolio worth over $22 million. She didn't achieve this through high income or risky trades. She achieved it because her daily spending and investing habits were 100% congruent with her identity as an investor.
Now, let's look at a language learning case study. Consider Kató Lomb, one of the most famous polyglots in world history, who spoke over 16 languages. She didn't grow up in a multilingual environment, nor did she possess a rare genetic gift for languages.
How did she approach learning new languages during a time before the internet or modern audio tools?
Kató Lomb famously treated every language not as an academic subject to be studied for exams, but as an immediate identity to inhabit. When she decided to learn Russian during World War II, she didn't say, "I am a student struggling with Russian grammar." She declared, "I am a reader of Russian literature," and immediately bought a Russian novel and a dictionary.
She didn't wait to feel ready or fluent. She assumed the identity first and let the small daily habits of reading and translating cast votes for that identity every day.
Exactly. She focused on the identity of being an active reader rather than a passive student. That shift in perspective eliminated her fear of making mistakes, because making mistakes is simply part of what real readers and speakers do while mastering a language. This has been such a deep and practical exploration of Chapter 2. Let's summarise the key insights from today's episode. The 3 layers of behaviour change. Outcomes are about what you get, processes are about what you do, and identity is about what you believe. True transformation starts at the identity level. Identity-driven versus outcome-driven. Instead of focusing on goals, I want to save money or I want to speak English, focus on identity. I am an investor or I am an English communicator. Vocabulary focus. Ensure your daily actions are congruent, in harmony and alignment with the person you want to become. The voting metaphor. Every action you take is a vote for your identity. You don't need perfection, you just need a simple majority of votes. Avoid psychological traps. Don't engage in wishful thinking or put the cart before the horse. Build your identity on real, daily micro-evidences. And now, it's time for our favourite interactive segment. Build a better sentence. Today's target vocabulary word is congruent. Here is a simple basic sentence. Her actions match her goals.
Let's upgrade that sentence to make it more sophisticated, expressive, and impactful for business and academic English. By ensuring her daily financial habits were fully congruent with her long-term identity as an investor, she built wealth effortlessly without relying on sheer willpower.
That is a magnificent upgrade. Notice how substituting actions match her goals with habits were fully congruent with her long-term identity transforms simple English into executive-level persuasive communication. As we wrap up episode 2 of our 10-part Atomic Habits series on mindful language, we want to leave you with a concrete challenge for the week ahead. Here is your reflection question. Who is the person you want to become in your finances and your language journey this year? And what is one single vote you can cast for that identity today?
If you want to become an English speaker, Your one vote today could be listening to the rest of this episode a second time or writing a 2-sentence comment below in English. If you want to become a wealthy investor, your one vote today could be transferring $5 into a savings account or reading a financial article.
Small votes build majorities. Thank you for joining us on the English and Wealth podcast on Mindful Language. Until next week, keep learning.
And keep casting those votes. Goodbye for now.